All right, hello everyone. Today we're going to be talking about how to create a works cited in MLA format. As you can see on the screen here, we've got 6 key elements of works cited. The first is going to be the hard page break. Then we're going to be talking about centering the text, working on spacing, font and font size, that tricky hanging indent, and then also we're going to make sure that all of our sources are in alphabetical order. So let's go ahead and get started. So the body of the text here doesn't really matter. So I'm just going to kind of skip down here to the end. As you can see, I've got the last line of my last paragraph and my works cited entries down here on the same page. So the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to move our cursor over here to before the W. And then we are going to press Control and Enter. And you can see that it created a new page within the same document. Okay. Now, if you were to add in a couple of paragraphs here and maybe you went on to the next page, the software would automatically push your works cited down one more page. Now, I'm using Google Docs because I think it's the easiest platform to use. But if you're using Microsoft Word or Pages or something like that, you might have to do a slightly different keystroke. For Google Docs purposes, I think it's the easiest way to go. Now, with Works Cited, it is not called a Works Cited page. It is simply called Works Cited. Now, notice too that the W in Works and the C in Cited are capitalized. Okay, and works is plural because I have more than one source. If I just had one source, it would be called a work cited. But in this case, since I have more than one, it is called a works cited. All right, moving on to number 2 with centering the works cited. I can either leave my cursor there or I can highlight the words that I would like to center. And then I'm going to move my cursor over here where it says align and indent. And I'm going to go down here to center align. Now, if you're using Google Docs, you could just do Control-Shift-E, or you can click here. There we go. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that everything is double spaced and that there are no spaces before or after those paragraphs. So in this case, I'm going to highlight everything on my works cited page. And then almost where you kind of found the indent and align button is going to be the line and paragraph spacing button. So click on that. And you're going to see up here at the top, we've got some spacing options. And then this is for Google Docs. We've got single, 1.15, 1.5, and double. Go ahead and click on double. I don't think anything changed because I think it was already in double space, but that is A-OK. And then go back one more time, and then you're going to see these two options down here, add space before paragraph and add space after paragraph. Now, some of your paragraphs may have spaces after them or before them. You just can't see them. So essentially what you're going to do just to make absolutely sure that there's no additional spaces, I like to click on add space and then go back and remove space. So if there was one with one of your paragraphs, you just didn't see it, this will take it out for you. Again, click on add space and then go back and remove space. So now we know for certain that there are no spaces before or after the paragraphs or the entries, and everything is in double space. Okay, you'll also notice over here where you normally see the font, you can see that there is no name for it. What that means is that we've got a couple of different fonts in here. So we want to make sure that they are all Times New Roman. So you click on that font little triangle, click on Times New Roman. Now it'll make sure that every single piece of text is in Times New Roman. Similar with the font size, if you click on here and go to 12, you may not see any changes, and that's okay. But now it makes sure that every single little iota, every single little letter is in 12-point Times New Roman font. Okay, now let's talk about this tricky hanging indent. So let's take one entry at a time. In this case, I'm going to start with the Della Mater source, and I'm going to move my cursor over here before the first letter of that entry. Then what I'm going to do is above that, I'm going to see on the toolbar is going to be an upside down triangle or triangle pointing down. And then above that is going to be a rectangle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the triangle and hold it. And you'll notice that it first started with a 0.00. I'm going to move it all the way over to the right until it says 0.50, and I'm going to release. And you'll notice it moved the entire paragraph over to 1/2 of an inch indent, but I don't want that. I just want the subsequent lines to be indented, and I want the first line to be flush left. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the rectangle, and it should be at 0.5, and I'm going to move it left all the way back to 0.0 and let go. Now you can see that the first line of my Works Cited page entry is flush left, and then every subsequent line is indented 1/2 of an inch. Okay, so one more time for the people in the back. I'm going to get rid of these spaces in between, and then I'm going to put my cursor before Hillenbrand, and I'm going to click on that triangle, click and hold, bring it out to 0.5, and then click on the rectangle and take it back. Okay, 2.0. There you go. Now, let's say you don't have to do this with every source. So let's say you've got one more source down here. Again, you're going to put your cursor before that first letter, and check this out. Instead of doing that whole moving the triangle thing, if you just move it once, all you have to do is this. Press the backspace key. That's going to take this third entry up into the second entry. See that up here? Keeping your cursor where it was without doing any spaces, without doing anything, just hit enter again. So what that's going to do is the software is going to say, hey, wait a second, I noticed you created a hanging indent. And so I'm going to follow suit with every entry that you make. Okay, so there we go. We have our hanging indent finished. But there's one more thing. If you're going back to your elementary school days, you know that D and H and G are not in alphabetical order. So our last order of business is to make sure all of our entries are in alphabetical order. So in this case, I'm going to highlight the Grandoni, and I'm going to move it up here before the Hillenbrand. And hey, look at that, Hillenbrand wants to attach itself, but we are not going to let them. We're going to hit enter and create a new line. Okay, so let's zoom out and look at our masterpiece. There it is. We've got Works Cited page, Works Cited that is centered. We've got a hard page break here between our essay and our Works Cited. Everything is double spaced. There are no spaces before or after the paragraphs. Everything is in Times New Roman 12-point font. We've got that hanging indent. Hey, that wasn't so tricky after all. And then also all of our sources are in alphabetical order. Okay, there it is. Have a great day.